Welcome to the Popish Plot. I'm Mike.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Nate.
And we are here with an object lesson from the Bible.
Ooh.
Samson and Delilah and temptation.
So, if you think you want bangs, you should sleep on it because you don't want bangs?
No, you should totally have bangs. Don't sleep on it. We've already made episodes in defense of rash decisions. So just go with it. Now, of course, I'm not sure that having bangs counts as a rash decision because...
Oh, yes, it is.
Okay, then yes, you should definitely do it. Again, we've already come out in favor of rash decisions, so yes, you should have bangs. No, so... Delilah, I think, gets an unfair rap.
Really?
I'm not defending Delilah, but Delilah's a professional doing a job.
I mean,
The lords of the Philistines come to her and they say, we need you to do this thing for us. Now, it's likely that Delilah is a Hebrew woman, not a Philistine, because Delilah's a Hebrew name. But she could also be a Philistine because our boy Samson, as we'll see, has a penchant for Philistines.
He's got a thing for the food that you should not taste. I mean,
And maybe it was one of those things where she was both because, the Bible's constantly going on about, stop dating these people.
Well, it's only... listen, but, Ruth makes it very clear. It's fine to date these people as long as they adopt your God. You don't, as Solomon discovered, adopt their gods.
Oh,
That's the problem with the mixing. Not, God's not against that. He wants all people to worship him. It's because you date them, and then you start setting up pagan shrines inside the temple.
and your high places,
Solomon,
and your sacred stones, and your Asherah poles,
all the high places. But Delilah is paid. The lords of the Philistines come to her with a job, and she goes to Samson, and she does the job. But this is where it's important to recognize there are warning signs before you get to this level of danger. So Delilah comes to Samson, and she asks the source of his weakness. And Samson makes the great mistake of then playing with fire.
Yeah, he entertained the proposition. He wasn't actually going to give in to her, but
here's the thing.
And every single time, it's not like she's being super sneaky. It's like clearly the level of spycraft back then was not good.
Mm-hmm. No, Delilah is, she's not open about her intentions, but she always asks him, what's the source of your power? He tells her, he always ends up tied up, and then she says, oh, look, the lords of the Philistines have come upon you, at which point he breaks his bonds and does what Samson does.
Who would expect that the night after you told me what your weakness is, the Philistines found out somehow and tried it?
And not once, not twice, 3 times.
The problem with her...
he was known for being strong, not smart.
The problem with her spycraft is that she doesn't have any. She wasn't chosen because she was some incredible...
Matahari.
Saboteur, type of a thing. She was chosen because she was his Lady Friday.
She was easy on the eyes.
Yes. Well, they were already involved, so,
No. But, notice.
And she had negotiable, ethics, so...
The text does not say that. She'd be
dating a guy.
She'd be the only woman who wasn't his mother that he was involved with and didn't sleep with, but...
She's seeing a guy, and some strangers come up to her and say, hey, you know that guy you're seeing? We'll give you a lot of money if you can tell us how to kill him.
But the greater focus here is on Samson, who, as Jess points out, is noted for his great strength, able to kill 1,000 guys with the jawbone of an ass. Yeah. Not his great intelligence. But even Samson is not so stupid that he didn't recognize what was going on.
No, that's actually really the problem, right? The first time he entertained it, he's like, look, I don't know why he's thinking to himself, I don't know why she's asking this. I gotta tell her something. But if I just give her something stupid, she'll be like, oh, okay.
No. Think about what Samson is doing.
I'm saying the first time. The first time.
He's just playing with her.
He's like, if I just give her something, she'll get off my back about it, and we can go back to cuddling and watching. I don't know what they watch.
Netflix and chill, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Netflix and chill.
Exactly. But the second time, this. Definitely by the third time, he's being stupid. I don't know what's going on
and that
there.
third time, it does come back to bite him.
But the second time,
yep,
she asked you what your weakness was. You gave her a fake one, and the next thing you know, the fake one is coming to pass literally to the letter.
Not once, but twice. And this is where we need to step back from making fun of Samson, and each of us take a look at ourselves. Because Samson knew, even stupid Samson, knew that this, I mean, I don't know if he's as stupid as the Galatians, but still, he knew this was a bad idea. And yet he can't help himself from just playing with evil. Just saying, hey, listen, I'm not going to betray God. I'm just going to go a little farther. Just a little farther. This is the way that so many of us...
It's the story of his life, though.
Well, this is the story of all of our lives.
Yeah, fair.
You know, we get into a pattern, and we know that this pattern is bad for us, but instead of immediately running to confession, immediately running to be with our friends, you know, people who will, you know, tell us, you know, remind us of our worth, instead we just keep thinking, I'll just keep dabbling.
This isn't hurting anything.
But it's important to understand how Samson got to this point. Because he's here, and he's so arrogant that he thinks, as I certainly have in my life, that I can just examine evil. I can look at it, I can hold it upside down, I can see different angles of it. It'll be fine. But Samson has, by this point, already negated the Nazarite oath that was protecting him and was the source of his strength. One of the things Samson was required to do was to avoid unclean foods and avoid the ritual impurity of being exposed to anything dead. So, what do we see Samson do? He eats wild honey out of the carcass of a lion.
Which just does not sound sanitary.
No, it does not.
It doesn't even sound good. I mean...
I don't know, man. Wild honey.
But out of a lion. I mean...
I have serious
it's surrounded by rotten, fetid meat.
On what the bees were making that honey out of.
That's fair. That's fair. Again, not the brightest bulb. But you would certainly not eat, especially if you had a fear of the dead, which, you know, a healthy fear of the dead, you would not eat honey out of its carcass.
No.
Now, he also, as part of his oath, was never supposed to drink wine or strong drink. And Samson, of course, had done this too. Which makes sense. You know, wedding festivities, all of this.
Hey, man, it was a party going on, and it had an open bar.
Mm-hmm. But then even after the end of his marriage, and even after his many victories against the Philistines, Samson goes down to Gaza, a Philistine stronghold, and has relations with a lady of negotiable affection. All this before the lords of the Philistines approach Delilah. And this is us. Before you get to the point where you're willing to openly toy with evil, oh, sure, Delilah, I'll tell you the secret of my strength. Oh, the lords of the Philistines, how shocking. Oh, sure, Delilah, I'll tell you the secret of my strength. Again, the lords of the Philistines, how surprising. And then the third time, he actually does tell her the secret. Because this is what happens to us. When we dull our will and our intellect through things that we know are bad for us, through eating things that we shouldn't, through drinking things that we shouldn't, through fornicating, or whatever the sin in your life is, unreasonable anger, envy, holding grudges, not holding your tongue when someone says something just really provocatively stupid. We don't always have to respond. But if we do, if we commit these small sins, we create a vulnerability in ourselves that then leads us to the place where we're so either blind or arrogant or both.
I mean, he wasn't blinded till later after the third time.
Well, again, in the Bible, your physical state always, sooner or later, comes to reflect your spiritual state. So, St. Paul can see with his eyes, but he's blind to the truth, so God blinds him for 3 days. Samson, before his eyes were ever gouged out, he is already blind. Because he toys with Delilah, telling her a lie once. He toys with Delilah, telling her a lie twice. And then, the third time, he toys with Delilah by telling her the truth. That if his hair is cut, he loses his strength.
Maybe he was playing an old-fashioned version of True Truth and a Lie, but it was reversed. Two lies and a truth. 2 lies and a truth.
Now, of course,
maybe he was like that one character from that one movie where if you asked him the same question,
so many times he has to answer.
If you ask him the same question 3 times, he has to tell you the answer.
Maybe this is where the movie got it. But some of the rabbi commentators have argued that, well, by this point, Samson had actually already lost his strength because he'd already completely betrayed God. And so the hair was just a symbol of that power.
Maybe that's actually the problem. Mm. I mean, look, sin creates a what's the word I'm looking for? Sin creates sort of a barrier between us and God, right? And because of that, when we have sin in our lives, we're not as open to the graces that God would be giving us because we've gone and put up a wall in between us.
Yeah, God is offering grace to everyone, but we have to be in a state to receive it.
So perhaps the real problem with Samson is the fact that he had already put up so many walls that he was no longer open to the grace that God was giving him, or trying to at least. So when Delilah starts coming and asking the questions,
exactly,
he now no longer has any sort of natural. He no longer has his supernatural defense, and to boot, he also clearly did not possess a whole lot of natural defenses against that sort of a thing.
Well, because now Samson is left only to his own resources, and as we've seen, that is not going to work. This is not a bright
He's
egg.
really impulsive. He's not a bright guy.
So, in your own life, I know most of us don't think of ourselves as Samson. Most of us don't have his physical strength. But each of us has, most of us aren't called to be judges of Israel. But each of us is uniquely empowered by God to carry out a particular mission. John Henry Newman has a very brilliant quote about this, that there's a work created only for each of us. But like Samson, we can only do that mission when we stay connected to God, when we receive the graces that he wants to offer us. And when we sin, first in small things, then it leads invariably to bigger things as we close off that spigot of grace, or at least our receptivity to it. So, if Samson had been true to his Nazarite oath, he probably wouldn't have been able to fall to the wiles of Delilah. He then wouldn't have ended up with his eyes gouged out, his physical blindness reflecting the spiritual blindness that had led him to this place, and his last triumphal act wouldn't be a weird murder-suicide with the lords of the Philistines, where he pulls down the temple on them and himself.
Yeah, that story never ends up in Sunday school, because you can't be like, this is bad, but...
Wait, you didn't have that story in your Sunday school classes?
She grew up Catholic.
We had a lot of the Good Samaritan.
Okay, because I not only got that story in Word, we had videos. We had graphic depictions of him tearing down the temple. Now, I mean, it was whitewashed. It's for kids.
Yeah, it's cartoony, but yeah.
So, no, we just had people who magically went back to Fatima and whatnot.
So,
and occasionally reenacting stoning of people
the great
using
Bible
paper wands.
the great Bible adventure was a real thing.
So stay tuned for a compare and contrast between Catholic Sunday School and Calvinist Sunday School. It'll be fantastic.
I mean,
so
it is an issue of it depends on exactly where you.
Of course, there's a huge variety.
When you've got a 50-50 chance of that you're going to end up in hell, I don't see any reason why we need to sugarcoat it for you.
You were Calvinist, so you had a near 99% chance that you were part of the elect, because there's almost no people who are like, I'm Calvinist and I'm going to hell because God preordained it from all time. There's nothing I can do.
Although I would like to meet that guy. And you still go to church? Yeah. Why?
I have heard of a rare one or two, but
I'd like to meet
everyone else
guy.
makes their coffee too strong. I prefer slightly brown water.
I'd like to meet the guy who's confident he's not part of the elect,
but still follows makes coffee,
but still follows the faith.
But he doesn't make church coffee.
So take the lesson of Samson.
Don't get the bangs. I know you're thinking it, but no.
Don't listen to her. Totally do the bangs.
The Bible has strong and inverse opinions on being bald.
Girls are definitely not supposed to be bald.
There's a reason why your friends don't think that vest looks good on you.
Don't mess around with sin. It starts small. It starts just, I'm just going to have a little tipple, when I've already said that I won't. It starts with just a little lie, and it ends up with your eyes getting gouged out. Sometimes literally. So, be smarter than Samson. You're never going to be stronger than him, so at least be smarter than him.
And don't get your eyes gouged out.
Please don't. Now, we freely admit that is not entirely under your control. If you want to read the story of Samson, with its both positive and largely negative lessons, he's mostly a negative example. Hey, don't do this. It's in the book of Judges, which is essentially one long negative lesson. Don't be like these guys.
I
mean, there are some that are not. They're all broken people, but some of them are, some of them accomplish some good things in their brokenness.
Yes, absolutely. Let's just remember how the book ends. And that the guy who chops up his concubine is not the villain of the piece.
Yeah.
So you can find the story of Samson in chapters 13, 14, 15, and 16 of the book of Judges.
And in Nate's old Sunday school.
So,
I'm going to have to see if I can find that video.
Comment below with more biblical figures who you think we could all learn from. Lessons to avoid, lessons to embrace.
Maybe we'd like to learn more about the she-bears. I think the she-bears are a winner.
We were definitely going to do more about the she-bears. Totally. Yeah, remember, if somebody calls you bald head, those are fighting words. Give this episode a like, subscribe to our channel, ring the church bell to be notified the next time we talk about she-bears and sin. And until then,
remember to live your faith.
Love your faith.
And share that love.